good movie. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not a must see. Like, if you ask me, Thor Ragnarok, Civil War, those are like you have to watch. Winter Soldiers, I have to watch.
For
It
sure.
was along the lines of like Iron Man 3. Not bad, like actually
Mhm.
really good, but not a must watch.
Yeah.
But the freaking stinger was just like you're watching it and you're just like you want to throw your phone and just yell at your cat because it was like
I loved it when you said that. It's so funny.
because I'm just gonna spoil it for you
Uh-huh.
in non-specific terms.
Uh-huh.
But you know how like because of the Civil War, and the movie's actually really funny. The way
Yeah.
that the way that they describe like so Ant-Man Scott Lang is there with his little girl when the FBI shows up,
Yeah.
and his daughter's like, "Why are you bothering my daddy?" And he's like making a little he's like making trying to make a comparison. And he's like, "Well, sweetie, you know how when you're at school there's rules at your schools like you can't write on the walls?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, basically, your daddy hopped on a plane and traveled to Germany and went to an airport and wrote all over the walls at the airport with Captain America." And he like just turns it into this giant, horrible analogy. And you're just sitting there, you're just like, and the little girl's just sitting there so confused, and you're just like, awesome. And there's this one scene that's really hard to describe where um, this character is given some truth serum,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, I think he's probably like the only Latino in the entire Marvel universe. But anyway, like he's given some truth serum, and he goes total cholo when he gets the truth serum. So he's like talking like Mahomes and stuff. And so he's just like rapid speaking, and he basically gives like a recap of like the entire first movie
Yeah.
while yeah. So he's like recapping the first movie, which is just weird and meta in itself. But the thing is, they do that thing where so it's his memories, and he's explaining and narrating everything. So whenever anyone else speaks, he
Mm-hmm.
says what they say. So in the flashback memory, they basically just dub it so that it's his voice over whoever. So it's stupid and it's hard to explain, but it was one of the funniest segments I have ever seen in any Marvel movie, and that includes like Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff. Like it was just so ridiculous just seeing like this little old lady with a cholo's voice being like, "Yeah, man, come on, let's go," and you're just sitting there like, and it's so rapid fire. It's hard to keep track of what's going on. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
I'm
basically,
gonna have
yeah.
to
So
see
like
it.
so he's under house arrest, and then the end of it is just he gets placed under some heavy duty lockdown,
Mm-hmm.
and then as soon as he gets placed under the heavy duty lockdown, like you think it's going to be like okay, they'll let him out, and
Mm-hmm.
then it cuts to the people with the key, and all that's left is dust, and you realize that the snap just happened, and so he just basically got locked up and now he's stuck alone and he's got no resources to the outside because the only people who can let him out just got disappeared by Thanos' snap. And you're watching it and you're just like, no, no, you did not do that. Come on.
Oh, no way. Like
Yeah.
interconnects the movies like that?
Yeah, it's so frustrating because the movie doesn't reference Infinity War at all. So you just think you're like, okay, this takes place before Infinity War. Doesn't reference it at all. And
Yeah.
then the stinger is like, okay, he gets some heavy duty lockdown. Oh wait, your captors they just totally disappeared. Sucks to be you. And you're just watching them. You're like, no, that did not happen. I'm so pissed.
What? Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's insane. Okay, I gotta go see it. I gotta go see this movie.
You got to watch it before Infinity War Part 2 at least because yeah, like I saw that and I was just like I was like, seriously? Like, does this really mean that Ant Man isn't going to be Infinity War because he's all locked up? Because I'm like, he wasn't in the first one,
Hmm.
so if he doesn't pop up in part two because he's locked up, I'm going to be so super pissed. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is. I'm like, you don't do this. I'm mad at this point.
It's so great. Oh
What it
man.
does do really well, and I haven't seen anything on IMDb, so I hope that it's just like stuff that hasn't been updated.
Hmm.
But they introduce a very good and sympathetic villain that by the end, uh, I could very much see becoming a good guy, and I hope she does because she would be really interesting in future movies.
Yeah.
So that was, I was like, yeah, because they got this villain with a very sympathetic backstory, and she's super cute, and I'm like, you can't be mad at her. She's just trying to help herself.
That's
And then it turns out, then they help each other, and it's like, okay, good. And then they kind of hint at, okay, well, maybe she'll pop up in future Marvel films. And she's got a
Mhm.
really cool power where I'm like, oh, I would like to see that power. Like, kind
Yeah.
of a Civil War thing if they're duking it out, see her against Spider-Man. I'm like, that would be a cool fight.
Yeah.
So they introduced a good character, but yeah, they had the most infuriating stinger ever. I was just there, I'm like, seriously.
That's so great.
They had, in the theater, there was literally a person, like, after it happened, you could just hear audible gasps because it took a second. Yeah, because it took a second because it was just kind of that ash dust.
Yeah.
So it took everyone a second to realize, oh my gosh, that's the Infinity War snap. So there was just kind of an audible gasp in the theater, and you just hear one guy just yell, like, "You can't be serious!"
That's so great. um,
It was a very yes. It was a movie that was easy to get invested in. So when they did that at the end, it was just like, oh, I can't believe you pulled that on me. Now I'm
yeah.
just mad.
Man, I'm excited to see it. Maybe I'll be able to go see it this weekend or something.
Do you guys not have? I swear it's not a Utah thing. I don't know, maybe. Here in Utah, Tuesdays tend to be like the cheap days for theaters. So like,
I don't
because
think
yeah,
that.
I went to go watch it on Tuesday because there's an IMAX theater near my place, and Tuesdays is $5 regardless of time, so matinee or evening, and regardless of format. So
Hmm.
you can go watch IMAX 3D in luxury seating for $5.
That's so
Yeah.
nice. I don't
So
know
now
any.
that
Yeah.
I'm a student again, I try and catch a movie like every Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like for $5 freaking. Luckily, sadly they didn't have IMAX 3D Ant-Man, but at least I got the IMAX, so it's like good. But yeah, I watched freaking IMAX 3D, IMAX 3D Infinity War for $5. I was like, heck yeah,
Nice.
Raya.
Oh,
You
hey.
remember who this is?
Hey.
Oh,
Oh.
you
Oh.
feeling good, kitty?
Where's my cat? Here, kitty, kitty. Come here. She's in my room somewhere.
Oh, you are purring. I've been house sitting for my little brother,
Uh,
and yeah, his cat. She jumps between being very needy and just ignoring me, and I don't know.
moody cats. So
Yeah, I don't know what to do with her because my little brother he has a special way with her that she
mhm.
likes, and I can't figure out what she likes. Like she'll be hounding me like she was just being right here on the desk. So I'll pick her up, and then she just does her little screechy meow until I put her down. I'm like, well, then what do you want me to
Oh, what do
do?
you want? Oh man.
I know. My kitty Wednesday, at least I know I'm like, okay, I'll usually just hold her on my lap and she'll just lick my hand and I'll pet her and watch YouTube or something. I think you've
Hmm.
seen that where she just like is licking into my hands. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're yeah. She's the only cat I've ever seen ever do anything like that. I'm like, I know what to do with Wednesday. I just give her hand licks, but I
Yeah.
don't know what to do with you, Freya. What do you want?
Yeah, it's so funny how cats have their own little quirks. So cute.
Mhm. I remember we had a cat growing up where if you picked her up and you would just blow on her face, and I have no idea how we discovered this,
Uh-huh.
but if you picked her up and blew on her face, just like she'd start
Mhm.
licking the air. And
Really?
like, I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know if it was like a reflex thing, just kind of like wind was coming. And so I don't know, maybe she was trying to do something, get her whisker, like make sure her whiskers weren't out of whack or something.
Hmm.
But yeah, you would pick her up and you would blow on her, and she would just start licking the air. And it was
That's
like,
so
I
funny.
don't know how we found that out, but we were like, you are the weirdest cat. What the heck?
That's cute. Oh man, that's funny.
Okay. You got the quiz pulled up?
I do.
Okay.
Not ready for this.
I know this is gonna be a long one.
Okay.
I got my water on me, but we may have to take like a halftime break on this one.
Seriously. Okay, so quantitative, um, just numbers.
So quantitative is numbers. What's the exception to that?
I know I'm just looking at this. So it's telephone numbers, and
Why
there's
is it telephone numbers though?
because it's telephone number doesn't really represent um numerically. It's more, yeah,
Yeah, it's just an identifier.
yeah.
Yeah, so the rule of thumb is pretty much if you can't put a unit on it.
Oh,
Because
that's what
like
it is.
the number of people, that's easy. It's you would say there is 23 people per classroom, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that one if you can stick a unit on it. If you can't stick a unit on it, like a telephone number or a jersey number or a number painted on the side of a NASCAR, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if there's not a unit, then that keeps it from being quantitative.
Gotcha. Okay, so I think it's only the number of people in a randomly selected classroom on campus.
Yeah. Because, yeah, three most common brands. So the fact that it's a brand, that one is definitely categorical. And even though it says number, telephone numbers would technically be categorical. In fact, I don't even know how you would use telephone numbers in like any sense. Because that's the point of telephone numbers is that they're all unique.
Yeah.
I guess you could go like by zip code, and if you were to call a number randomly, which zip code tends to be the biggest jerks. But
True.
that would, yeah, but that would still be categorical.
That's true.
That's the study I'd hate to do. Uh, I spent a month being a telemarketer one summer, and
Oh,
ouch, that was painful.
I couldn't do it. There's no way.
It was seriously, it was like, it was like one of my, I'm trying to think. I don't think it was my very first job, but it was like one of my first jobs. So I think I was like 17, and I didn't realize how jobs worked. And so I was so basically like after a week there, I was like, I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice, and they just kind of looked at me because to them it was like people don't put in 2 weeks notice; they just walk out the door and never come back, you know.
Really?
But like I was so afraid that like if I didn't give it 2 weeks notice, like how you always hear about, that I would be like blackballed and I would never be able to find like another job again because everyone would be like, this guy didn't put in his 2 weeks notice. It's like I should have just been there for like a week, and I ended up working almost an entire month just because I was like, after my first week, I was like, I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice, and they're just kind of like, 1 week, you're sick of this place, you're gonna put in twice that much before you leave. Like, well, thanks. It's just like, oh, that was
I couldn't do that.
scary.
That and the summer sales. I couldn't do summer sales either.
Oh, I know. Well, the thing is, like, I got that job the same time as my one of my really good friends and my cousin. Like, we all just decided we're like, we need some spending money this summer, so we all got the job together.
Yeah.
And the thing is, my friend and my cousin crushed it. Like, my cousin, I maybe just being a girl, people were nicer to her. I don't know. But
Yeah,
the thing is,
a little
my
bit.
friend, he was just a good salesman.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just nailed it. He ended up getting a job right now. I think he's in. I don't know. He's crazy. He's been changing things so much. Like he was. That sounds so stereotypical, awful, but he was good at it. He was a car sell. He was a used car salesman.
Mm-hmm.
but he freaking rocked at it. Like that is just his personality. Is he could strike up a conversation with anybody.
Yeah. Some
And
people just
he,
have that skill, and some people do not
yeah.
have that skill.
And then he got married, and I don't know if it was the fact that he was getting sick of selling cars, or if his wife didn't like the stigma, or just wanted something a little more secure or whatnot.
Yeah.
But being married kind of stirred up in him, and he's like, "Oh, I need to be more responsible." So, but he never really did too well in high school or college.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't med school. He decided he wanted to do podiatry school because he's like, you become a podiatrist, you focus on feet. He's like,
Yeah.
you get paid pretty much as a doctor, but it's a lot less competitive because who the heck wants to just deal with feet all day, you know?
True.
And then the last time I spoke with him, he's actually in med school. I'm like, holy crap, when did that happen? I'm like, when did you mature, dude? What the
I
heck?
know, like,
I'm like,
seriously.
you went from a complete idiot dude bro in high school and now you're gonna be a doctor in a few years. Like that's so crazy.
Huh. Wow. That's impressive.
I
It's
know,
kind of how my
seriously.
brother was. Like, he barely graduated high school. Like, he just literally barely graduated. And then I mean, now he's an attorney and he's like really good at it. So, like,
Dang.
he like got straight A's through college, and I'm not sure about I don't know if he got straight A's in law school, but he's like a really good attorney now. So
I can only imagine what law school would be like. That would just
I
be
Ugh.
well the thing is it's like
They have to write like 100-page papers, and I'm like, no, I can't do that.
yeah, and to be a good lawyer, it's like it's a lot like being a researcher, you know, like a scientific researcher.
Yeah.
But it's so difficult because you're researching man-made things as opposed to man-discovered things, and
Mhm.
nature tends to have kind of a rhyme and reason behind it, so it's easier to remember things, you know?
Yep.
But things that people make up, it's just you're just memorizing just disconnected facts.
Yeah.
And
No.
there's no
Totally.
real coherent thing to tie everything together. So to be a good
Yeah.
lawyer, I don't know how you would juggle all of that in your mind. Because, yeah, I've had people ask me, when I'm tutoring and we're going over, DNA or protein synthesis or something like that. They're like, how the crap do you know? Like, how the crap do you remember all this? And I'm just like, well, biology is kind of builds off of itself. So if you know the core fundamentals, then that helps you remember the rest of it. Plus, everything is tied together. So if you remember the central dogma if you remember the central dogma, that'll help you with protein synthesis. That'll help you with DNA replication. Like it all just kind of ties together in a net of biology.
Yeah.
Whereas law, that's not the case with law.
Nope.
Law is just like, here's a random fact. Here's a random fact. This random fact will be applicable to your case. This random fact won't be applicable to your case. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my
It's
gosh,
it's
yeah.
insane. Like, so my whole family is just my dad's an attorney, my grandpa's an attorney, my two brothers are attorneys, my uncles are attorney. Like, it's just like our whole family. I don't know what it is, but like I work for my dad. And it's just insane. Like, because I see it, I see what he has to deal with and everything, and I'm just like, and what he does every day, and it's like, I could never be an attorney.
What type of attorney is he?
He does family law. So
That
like
would be
divorces,
hard.
custody, like adoptions. Yeah, but most honestly, he does mostly divorces and like yeah, mostly divorces. So I mean, you're dealing with just people who are not happy.
Yeah, no, that would be super hard, and that's the thing is that's the field where you need the best of someone
Hmm.
because if you get scummy lawyers and divorce, then that's just going to be ruining people's lives. Like you really need
Oh yeah.
someone who can be an objective arbiter, really,
Hmm.
rather than trying to win the case, trying to do the best things for the kids and stuff. Like
For sure.
that's when you really need to have a good person as a lawyer. So kudos to your dad because
Yeah.
that would just burn me out.
Well, and like, there's definitely really bad lawyers out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy, crazy. But All right, let's get this quiz. I'm like, we're gonna die doing this quiz.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, question 3. Hmm.
Okay. So is study an experiment or observational study?
Um, so an experiment. No, it didn't change anything. So it'd be an observational study because students. And then because the students had no control over the price of the individual cereals.
Exactly. Yeah, because you'd want to stop and you'd have to ask yourself,
Was
what
something
is the control group? What's the experiment group?
yeah.
So, for example, if we wanted to see, do people really just flip a coin? Like, is it really a 50-50 shot when we flip a coin? If
Mm-hmm.
we just had people flip the coin 25 times, that would be observational.
Uh-huh.
But then we added a little something extra. We said, okay, now focus on getting tails.
Mm-hmm.
That was our experimental treatment. So then it went from just an observation to a control group and an experiment group.
Yeah.
So when trying to figure out if it's observational or an experiment, look for that experimental treatment or look for an experiment group and an like a control group and experiment group. So you're completely right on this. They didn't have any control over the prices or anything. They were just simply observing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
there's the error. So the error, they accidentally put somebody in as 12 when it should have been 21. So we're increasing the age of one of the males. What would happen to the median?
the median would stay the same,
Let's see.
right? Because it's median that's not affected by outliers. It's mean, that is.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. This has been a while. That
Yeah.
sounds right because mean, when you're dealing with outliers, the mean gets pulled one way or the other
Yeah.
pretty heavily.
So
And
I'm
that's
pretty,
definitely an outlier for a college student to be 12.
yeah. So I'm pretty sure it will stay the same.
The pragmatic side of me wants to say it's not possible to determine without the full data set. Or actually, let's see. So the median is, so mean is all of them added together divided by the total. Median is simply you take them, arrange them all in order, and then find quartile, median, third quartile. So this would
Yeah, so
be,
like the first two crossed off the list would be the maximum and the minimum. And so 12 would be automatically crossed off.
I'm just trying to think what would. Okay, so the median cares about the number of people, and so we'd be looking at. Yeah, because what would happen. Dang it, that's why I want to say it's not possible, though. Because how close is 21 to the median and stuff? But
It said the sample mean, which I would assume is pretty close to the median, is 21.2. So when they switch it, it'll be close to the sample mean, which means there's a lot of the students that are 21. So the
okay,
median is probably 21.
hold on a second. Just looking up a quick review because I think you're totally right. The pragmatic part of me, though, is just like whenever I see a vague answer, like it's not possible to determine, I'm like, I want to do that one.
Oh, yeah.
But it totally makes sense the fact that this would drag the mean down, but the mean. Yeah. Let's just do mean will stay the same. Yeah, if we need to go back and change that, we'll change it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, do you remember how to solve this type of problem?
So isn't it just, I mean, we just logically think about it, right? So like 95% will be, well, actually, wait.
So we have a standard, so we know this is normally distributed.
And we're gonna do 50 minutes, and so
So how far away is 50 minutes from
two standard
70?
deviations, which is, so it'll be 95. Do we put it in the
But
applet for this?
you could
But
put it in the
it's
applet.
the, we would highlight, wait, we do use the applet?
You could. You don't
Oh.
have to.
And then you would
Because
highlight the left-hand section.
and so without opening the applet, what number would we get if we highlighted the left-hand section?
What's that number?
So if we
1
go
point.
so if
Talking
we
about
go
that.
so if we go two standard deviations and we highlight the outliers of the two standard deviations, everything in between would be 95%, hence the 68, 95, 99.7 rule, right?
Yeah, so it'd be 5.
So it'd be 5 if we're looking at the outliers. We're only looking at the outliers on the left side.
So we
So
divide it by 2.
mhm,
So 2.5.
yes.
Mm.
If you want to check,
I think this, I remember this question from earlier in the semester.
yeah. And it's actually, if you use the applet, you'll actually get the wrong answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you remember, it's 1.96 instead of 2.
I think this is the one I
So
emailed her about. And I was like, the applet, blah, blah, blah.
that makes sense.
She said,
'Cause-
when it says use this rule, you're supposed to use the rule, not the applet. I think I remember
Okay.
that.
Yeah, because I got the applet pulled up right now, and it's 0.228, so it's close to 0.025,
Mm-hmm.
but this is an estimation, so we're going with the 2.5. But does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you're able to think through that conceptually without having to pull up the applet at
Yeah,
all.
for sure.
Scores in LSAT are approximately normal. Mean of 150.7, standard deviation of 10.2. Okay, do you remember how to calculate these?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna need to get my notes or something. um,
Luckily, I have to say, I'm trying to think, out of all the professors, I know this is an open book, but out of all the professors to be like, you can have a page of notes.
I'm glad this is one.
Yes. No, I think Sister Cook has been one of the nicest about it because, like, I remember having classes where the professor would be like, open book, open note, but it's a 2 hour time limit. Those were the most horrifying experiences ever because it's like, yeah, you have all the resources you need, but there's a time limit. So the
Yeah,
expectation is you don't know everything, but you should know how to find everything.
which is a
And then it just becomes a race against the clock. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so do you do the mean minus I don't know what I was writing there. Does that sound familiar? Do the mean minus the standard deviation?
Mean. So you go, usually what you would do, they're tricking you up on this question.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying, here's the mean, here's the standard deviation, here's an arbitrary number. So you'd usually think the arbitrary number would be x. So you'd go x minus mu divided by sigma to get your z-score, and then you'd plug that all in. But it's actually asking, find the 35th percentile. So what score represents the 35th percentile? So it's actually asking us to work backwards in this case. So we want to ignore 157 and work backwards. So the first thing I would do is it's asking for 35th percentile. So we're looking for all the scores below 35, below 0.35. So the very first thing I would do is go to the applet, highlight the left-hand area, go up to the area, type in 0.35. That gives us the 35th percentile.
Is
And
0.385. Oh, that's where that came from.
yes, so then we get a z-score of negative 0.385.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
now that
then
we have a mu, a sigma, and a z-score, can you solve for x?
yes.
Okay. So I'm going to solve, yeah, I'm going to plug in the equation real quick and let me know when you have your answer, or if you're having trouble, let me know and we can work it together.
Okay. Um, is it 146.77?
To one decimal point. So 146 point, I got 0.8. My full
Oh,
answer was 146.773.
yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, that one is simply just taking the equation for z-score, which is x minus mu over sigma, and then rearranging it and solving for x. The key there, though, is for this one, because we're looking for the 35th percentile, which means that we're looking for a score below the mean of 150, we would use the negative z-score instead of the positive z-score, which you totally did, but do you remember that concept and why it's important?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm glad you reminded me because.
Yeah, I remember that was kind of a sticking point for you at the beginning of the semester. You never knew whether to use the positive or the negative.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've done this, so it's like.
So real quick, when do you use the positive? When do you use the negative?
For like percentiles.
Yeah.
So anything like 50 it's kind of like it's above 50 is positive. If you use below 50, it's, but I get no. Okay, wait. It's asking. Well, yeah. For percentile, that's how it would be. But if it's like asking, if it's not about percentiles, and it was like how many students scored above 150.7, then it would be highlighting the right hand side.
You're right. You're getting two concepts confused.
Okay.
So you're totally right. If we're looking at percentile, if the percentile is less than 50, then we'd be looking at the negative z-score.
Mm-hmm.
If the percentile is greater than 50, like we're looking at the 95th percentile, then we're looking for the positive z-score. Or in the case of numbers, because 50 percentile is the mean. So another way of talking about less than or greater than the mean is we have a mean of 150.7. Let's say we were looking for the percentage of students who scored 140 or lower. Since 140 is lower than 150, then we'd be using the negative.
Okay.
And then you use, are you looking for less than or greater than to decide which areas that you're highlighting. So if you're looking for less than, hold on a second. So if you're looking for less than a negative z-score, then you're looking at just the furthest left outliers. If you're looking for greater than a positive z-score, then you're looking at the furthest right. If you are looking for everything in between, I'm not sure how they'd phrase that, but then you'd highlight the middle. Yeah. But then it gets tricky, and it's literally, I think, only popped up once or twice this entire semester. Let's say it says, what is the percentage of students who scored less than 157? So 157 is higher than our mean, so we'd use the positive z-score, but we're looking at less. So that means we're looking at the left of a positive z-score, which means that we highlight the left area and the middle.
Okay.
Same with if we were looking at a number of students who scored higher than 140, because 140 is less than our mean. So in that case, we'd be looking at not just the right side, but we'd look at the right side and the middle. It's like I think it's only popped up like once or twice in the semester, but there is a difference between which z-score you use and which areas you're highlighting. Yeah. So you're looking for greater than, less than to know which areas you're highlighting. and you're looking at your z-score to determine the starting point for whether you're going left or right.
Yeah. Okay, that makes
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good reminder. Okay. Turn.
Okay. So this one's just straight memorization. Do you remember this?
Suppose. Gosh, I'm in a group text with my brothers.
Oh, no problem.
Okay. Okay, so 2 is very, very low. What would be the shape? It's not normal.
Yeah, it's not normal.
I would say we cannot be sure until we examine the data. Wait, wait,
You're
wait,
actually
wait,
being
wait, wait. Also, oh, wait,
pragmatic,
wait, wait.
like I was.
Okay, wait. The distribution of the number of cancer cells is right skewed. Is it right skewed?
Yes.
Okay.
So the sample population will always mimic the parent population unless n is greater than 30. Then the sample population will always be
Always be
normally
normal.
distributed. Yeah.
Okay.
And which law is that?
Oh gosh. Law of large numbers.
Strangely, no.
Gosh, that is. Oh,
What does
I
what does
am
the
rusted.
what does the law of large numbers state?
Okay, so let me think about this. So the law of large numbers states is okay. I think it's the closer, the larger the sample size, the closer your sample mean will be to the population. The smaller your standard deviation will be.
There you go.
Okay.
Yes, because regardless of how big our sample size is,
Uh-huh.
by definition, the sample mean of the distributions is going to be equal to the population mean. That's what statistics is all about.
Okay.
But you're going by samples that you're taking in that distribution. So
Hmm.
you have to hope that it's close to the actual one. And like you said, the higher your number, the smaller the standard deviation, the thinner the curve. So the closer any given number is to the true number. And that's the law of large numbers, is that if your sample size is large, standard deviation goes down, your results are more accurate.
Yeah.
So do you remember the law for this one?
Um, Central limit theorem.
Yes.
I had to think. I was like, like racking my
It's been a
brain.
while.
I know.
What is the other part of the central limit theorem?
Um, in my head, they're like the same thing. Um, okay, so if kind of like what I was thinking about this, so if the sample size is large enough, then it will be um, close to the population.
So central limit theorem, there's two parts of it.
And
One of
then,
them one of them is the sample population, the distribution of the sample population will mimic the distribution of the parent population if the sample sizes are below 30. If it's above 30, then it'll be normally distributed. So that's the first part.
Right.
And then the second part, do you remember the second part? Don't worry, because I don't either. I'm looking it up right now. I think, I'm not positive. If I remember, I think what it is, isn't it just simply saying that given enough samples, that the
It'll be
population mean
approximately.
is equal to the sample mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what it is, but I want to double check because it's been so freaking long.
I need to pull up my notes too. That's law of large numbers. Law of large numbers states that the sample mean will be close to mu.
And that's talking about standard deviation, though.
Okay, and then the central limit theorem states that if the sample mean is large, that x will be approximately normal.
Yeah. So if x is large, it's going to be normally distributed, regardless of if the parent population is skewed. So that's one part. And there should be a second part, and I'm trying to remember it.
Huh. Don't really see it in my notes.
Look real quick. I know that there's two parts to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so what it is law of large numbers is that the larger our sample size, the smaller the standard deviation is.
Mm-hmm.
And then the central limit theorem states that provided you take enough samples, regardless of how large the sample size is, if you're to take just, theoretically, if you're to take an infinite amount of samples, even if those sample sizes were only two, the mean of your samples is going to be the mean of the population
Okay.
if you do it enough.
Yeah.
And then the second part is what we're talking about. If your sample size is large enough, then it can overcome left and right skew.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. That makes
That's
sense.
what I was thinking. It just hasn't popped up in forever, so I just wanted to double check.
Yeah, and they're pretty much the same thing. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Next two questions.
Are you on 7 or 8?
I'm on 8.
Okay. I got 2.236.
2.236. What was the equation you used?
So I did x bar minus mu over standard deviation divided by the square root of n.
Just 1 second.
Did I do my math wrong?
No, I think I did mine wrong.
Yeah, I think it's 2.236.
Okay, what was it you got again?
2.236.
2.236. That's what I got.
Okay. Okay.
So the mean is 8,544. Now it's asking what is the probability. Oh, our n increased to 50, so we want to take that into account.
So do we have to get a new z-score for that then?
Yeah, because x is now lower than our mu, so it's 8540, and n is equal to 50.
Okay. Okay, I got negative 2.357.
Let me double check. Yeah, that's the z-score I got. They are asking for the probability, though. So just remember, instead of pulling up the normal probability, you want to use the student's t probability, because we're dealing with sigma here instead of standard deviation.
Oh.
Yeah, so we got sigma, which means we need to divide by the square root of n, which means we have degrees of freedom, and so we want to use the t-score.
Okay. So is it 0.0112?
That's what I got.
0.011, I guess.
Yeah.
So this is the probability of committing a type 1 error for number 10.
So what is a type 1 error?
Type 1 error is when you charge an innocent man. So whenever you reject true, null hypothesis.
To reject the null hypothesis and the null hypothesis is true.
Yes.
That is a type 1. Perfect. Type 2 is then what?
When you let a criminal go.
Mm-hmm. And then what's the last one?
Oh, probability of rejecting the null, whether it's true or not. Probability of rejecting the null. Oh, that's a type 1 error.
Is it?
Whether it's
What's keeping it from being a type 1 error?
oh, we've totally have seen this question before.
So a
Whether
type 1 error is sending an innocent man to jail.
so it's the trick question is whether it's true or not.
Exactly.
So
If we don't care whether if we don't care whether the null is true or not, then why the heck would we care about when we reject it, you know? So the probability of rejecting the null, whether it's true or not, who the heck keeps track of those things? Like if you're not going to keep track if you're not going to keep track of whether the null is true or not, why would you keep track of why would you bother naming something like the probability when you reject it? So
yeah.
rejecting the probability of rejecting the null, whether it's true or not, is nothing.
Oh, gotcha. Height of young.
I guess technically you could say. Oh no, I'm thinking about that. Maybe you could say it's the alpha, but even then, you're setting your alpha as this is how confident we are, and it needs to reach this threshold. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's a 5% chance that we're going to be rejecting it. So, yeah, that last answer is just a bunch of nonsense. Okay, so the heights of young adults, standard deviation of 2.6, goal of 85. Okay, so 95% confidence interval in regards to the heights of young adult females in the United States based off of a sample from BYUI. Okay, so what's the 95% confidence interval mean?
You're 95% confident that isn't it approximately 95% of all 95% confidence intervals that could be computed from the population of all adult females in the United States will contain the true.
Okay, explain your reasoning. Roxy, let's hold off on that one real quick. Let's go through this one answer by answer. 95% of the heights of female adults in our sample are in the confidence interval. Is that one wrong or right? Why is it wrong?
Okay, 95% of. So typically how it goes is it's usually you say I'm 95% confident. And so that's probably my first red flag is it just says 95% of the heights.
Exactly. What would we be looking for in this case? We would be looking at, if you remember, what do they call them? Box plots. It'd be a box plot, but you tweak it, so rather than going min, max, 25, 75, and 50%,
Mm-hmm.
you would tweak it so that it would give you the 95, So that's definitely not the case, because a confidence interval, we're dealing with confidence here, and if you're talking about 95% of the numbers being within an interval, that's the
Mm-hmm.
box plot. 95% of all heights of female adults are in our confidence interval. That's pretty much the same as the first one. It's just that it's saying, rather than our sample, it's saying that 95% of the population we're studying. So again, we're dealing with more box plots things than confidence intervals. There is a 95% chance that the true mean height of adult females in the United States is within our confidence interval. Is that one true or false?
False.
Why?
Same reason as before.
So what is the probability once all is said and done and we
Mm-hmm.
have our confidence interval, what is the probability that the true mean height will be within the confidence interval?
95%.
The confidence interval is already done.
Uh-huh.
So we have our confidence interval and there is a true mean. What are the odds that the true mean falls within our confidence interval? I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint.
100%. Are we?
Oh, you're so close. You're so close.
95%?
No, you got farther away. So after all is said and done, you can't change anything.
Uh-huh.
What are the odds that the true mean falls within the confidence interval?
Um, approximately 95% of the
No.
time.
Okay, so how about how to do this? Okay. So this is just what I have on hand, so whatever. But okay, so I threw 5 coins in here.
Okay.
What's the probability of there being a quarter in here?
Wait, you threw 5 points in there?
Yes.
And what's
So
the
what's the probability of a quarter being in here? The coins have already been put in. There's nothing you can do to change it.
Uh-huh.
So what's the probability?
0.95?
No.
Point.
The probability is 1. There's a quarter in there.
Oh.
So it's 100% that a quarter is in there.
Yes.
So there's 2 options, not 1. There's 2 options, either 0 or 100.
Yes.
We don't know which one it is. So we never talk about percentages because it's either 0 or 100, and not being sure is worthless information. So we don't talk about percent chances.
Mm-hmm.
So do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. So that's why that one is wrong, is because there's not a 95% chance that the true mean height falls within the confidence interval, because the chance of it falling in there is 0 or 100. It's either within our confidence interval or it's not. There's no in between.
Yeah, we don't use the word chance.
Yes. So we are 95% confident that the true mean height of the adult female in the United States is somewhere within our confidence interval. Is that one true?
So it's between that one and approximately 95% of all 95% confidence intervals. Um, we're 95% confident that the true mean height of all adult females in the United States is somewhere in the.
Does that not sound like the definition of how we define our confidence interval?
It totally does.
Okay, so that one's correct.
Okay.
Then we go up to the other one because ta-da, you can choose multiple answers here.
Oh.
Approximately 95% of all 95% confidence intervals are computed from the population in the United States will contain the true mean height. What's that saying in another term?
So approximately 95%. So 95% of the time, the true mean will fall within the 95%.
And we can and we can say that because the experiments haven't been done yet, right?
Yes.
Yes. So the confidence, so 95% confidence, two ways of phrasing it. One is we are 95% confident of whatever. So
Hmm.
in this case, we're 95% confident that the true mean is within our confidence interval. The other way of stating it is that if we were to repeat this experiment an infinite amount of times,
Hmm.
95% of those times, our conclusions would be correct.
Okay.
And that's what this is saying is they're saying they're not putting on the if we repeat this infinitely, they're just saying that approximately 95% of all the 95% confidence intervals are going to be correct.
Yeah.
So those are the two different ways you can phrase confidence. Confidence is either we are 95% confident that we are 95% confident that we're correct, or if we were to repeat this experiment an infinite amount of times, 95% of all of those experiments would be correct.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Or whatever your confidence is. If your confidence is 90, or if it's zero point 0.1, like we go, the main alphas we see are 0.1, 0.05, and 0.01.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the two different ways of saying the same thing.
Okay.
Is that there's the statistical. We are 95% confident that the true mean falls within our confidence interval. And if a normal person were to see that, they would ask, what the heck does that even mean? And then you have the more layman's terms of if we repeat this experiment an infinite amount of times, 95% of those theoretical experiments are going to be correct. So those
Okay.
are the two ways of saying confidence. You have the the statistician's way of saying it, and then kind of the layman's way of saying it.
Okay.
Okay, so marine biologists have been studying the effects of acidification. Okay. So are the requirements met?
Um, Yes, the distribution of sample means is normal because the data are normal.
Yes.
Okay.
So it says right here, the true mean weight of no wait, where does it say it? Their data follow a normal distribution.
Which means that they don't need a large sample size.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the rule is sample populations follow the distribution of the parent populations
Yeah.
unless it's greater than 30, in
Mm-hmm.
which case they will always be normally distributed.
Yeah.
But since the population is normally distributed, then we don't have to worry about being larger than 30. So you had that perfect. Okay, stockbroker.
Ooh.
Sample data is recorded in rates of return. Okay, let's open that.
Okay, so
Okay, so alpha 0.05. Okay. So where do we start on this one?
um so we calculate the mean. Did it give us the mean though?
Do you remember how to calculate the mean?
On Excel,
Yes.
yeah, so equal to average, and then you just do that. And then the standard deviation is equal to STDEV.
Mhm.
That's as far as I got because it took me a second. I was like, what am I doing?
Oh, no problem. I
And
had to spend some time
then
putting the data
the
too.
p-value is, oh, so we find the z-score, right? And then we put in the applet.
Yeah, so our first step, if we wanted to find the p-score, would be to get a z-score.
Um, but we're not given sigma.
Well, that's why we solve for standard deviation,
Yeah.
because we're dealing with a sample here instead of the population, so we have to estimate the population standard deviation by doing a sample standard deviation. Vocab is so fun in this class.
Okay, so we do, where did that Excel sheet go? There's so many tabs up. Okay, so we do -1.1067 minus the mu. Oh, okay. Okay, which is 0.95 divided by standard deviation, which was 5.9999649 divided by the root of 39. Negative 2.141.
Yeah, that's what I got. So we go, yeah. So there's the average that the stock market is doing with 0.95. We had a negative 1.1, yada yada. So we go negative 1.1 minus 0.95 divided by the standard deviation divided by the square root of n, which comes out to 6.244985. And that gives us negative 2.140077. So that's the z-score. We now need to get the p-value, though.
So we put into the applet the student.
Which one?
Students.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
And then
don't forget to go up to the top and put in the degrees of freedom.
Which is going to be 38.
Mm-hmm.
And then what part do we have it? So it's asking for says in order to determine whether there was a substantial decrease.
So in a conceptual way, what are we measuring?
The difference between the two numbers. So not equal to.
Oh, actually, I didn't catch that. I just assumed something. Maybe. Let me double read that real quick. Investor felt the lack of diversification was poor and the firm agreed. So the arbitration battle turned period. Oh, okay. Here are the keywords. Conduct a hypothesis test to determine if the investor's portfolio can perform significantly worse. So if the keywords are worse, what is our null? What is our alternate hypothesis?
So our null is equal to.
So our null is that it's equal to 0.95. Our alternate hypothesis is what?
Less than.
Yes. So you get everything into the student app, and then which side are you looking at?
The left-hand side.
Yes, because we want to see if it's doing worse.
So 0.019.
I got 0.0194, but I went one decimal too far. So you're right. Perfect. Okay. This next question is unrelated, so I'm going to use this real quick. Take a break. I'm going to run to the bathroom, so I'm going to be back in just a minute, okay?
I'll do the same, actually.
Okay, sounds good. Breathe.
Oh. My cat wants to say hi.
Ah, kitty.
She's seriously like, where your face is on the computer, her face is right there.
Oh, what a sweetie. What's her name again?
Misty.
Oh, such a sweetie.
Like, such my little precious.
Yeah, look. Come check this real quick. Oh, she's so floofy.
She's super fluffy. He's my little baby.
Oh, Sarah's got it. Oh, she's just a very cute kitty.
This is Misty.
Oh, let me unplug it. This is Misty.
Yeah.
Oh, she looks so grumpy.
That's kind of her face. Yeah.
She looks like a little sweetums.
She loves me. Yeah.
Aw. Isn't she like 16?
Yeah, she's super old.
Aw, such a really big compared to Korea.
Freddie's kind of a run.
You have a too big friend. Aw, such a cute kitty.
Yeah, she's a sweetie.
My one of my brothers and his wife adopted a little kitty just before their firstborn. Their firstborn was born. And so they have a little cat that's just a little less than a year old and a little baby that's about 6 months now. But we're talking about how crazy it is that Wendigo and Sage are going to be growing up together to the point that Wendigo will probably be at Sage's graduation when she graduates high school.
Wow.
Because they're thinking Wendigo is going to be an indoor cat, and indoor cats live a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mentioned I was like, yeah, Wendigo will probably be at Sage's graduation. That kind of just blew their minds. They're like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, my cat's been there my whole life.
Aw,
Kind of great. It's crazy. It's crazy, but
she looks like a super sweetie.
she's a good cat.
Aw.
She's shy right now. She won't come sit next to me.
I love kitties because despite what people say, they can be just as affectionate as dogs, but they're just so much more low maintenance. My gosh.
Thank you. They're so low maintenance. Like, you don't have to walk them every day. You don't have to do any of that. They're just very content with being lazy, and I like that because I'm content with being lazy.
I know, because people are like, cats aren't affectionate. I'm like, you haven't seen Wednesday freak out when she needs hand licks, and I need to just pet her while she licks the palm of my hand. I'm like, and you haven't seen Wednesday if she is unable to sleep on the bed with me. Like, she freaks out if she can't sleep on the bed with me.
Oh, it's so cute.
And just like the little things where it's like all cats, where it's like you just go to the bathroom and all of a sudden you start hearing some meowing and like a little paw pops up beneath the door. And it's like, meow, meow. And you're just like, oh, kitty needs attention.
The kitty needs attention. So funny.
Kitties are super affectionate. I love kitties. And yeah, like, I'm not saying I'm not a dog person.
I'm not a dog person.
I like big dogs. I don't like small dogs. Because I'm like, if you're going to get a small dog, just get a cat, because then they're low maintenance.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't like small dogs, like just those little poodles and chihuahuas and those little
Hmm.
things. And then Shih Tzus and like pugs and stuff. I'm just like, oh, those things are gross. Get them away from me.
Yep.
But like, but like a big like German Shepherd or just a big dog, I think would be fun.
Hmm.
But I just don't have the patience to train a dog, so I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'll stick with my kitty.
I am right there with you. Oh man.
Seriously, I've got a brother-in-law and a brother who have trained their dogs so well. Like
Hmm.
they're like the best behaved dogs I've ever seen. But just the amount of time that it took to train them, I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
They're big enough animals where you have to train them. Like
Yeah,
just, I mean, you can't let them go wild, So, yeah.
exactly.
Alright.
Oh, well, Misty looks like a little sweetie.
She's so precious. Honestly, she's just like, she's my baby.
So is she your cat or is she family cat?
She's my cat, but I mean, everyone enjoys her company, so,
Oh, okay.
she's so I guess I should say, like when I go off to college, I can't have a cat with me, and so living in the dorms and stuff, so I kept her here. So I guess in that aspect, she's like a family cat, but she's my cat. She's mine.
Okay. No, that makes sense because yeah, like now that my parents are back in Utah,
Mhm.
like I've just been house sitting for Alex this week because he was actually house sitting. It was so ridiculous. So this last week I've been house sitting for Alex because
Uh-huh.
he's been house sitting for his girlfriend who's on vacation with their family.
Yeah.
Her house is in Springville. I'm in Spanish Fork, so I'm like, I could just go check in on their house because she has a dog. I'm like, I could just go check in on our dog, once or twice a day.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, she's got such a neurotic dog
Uh-huh.
that they figured it'd actually be better. They're like, no, actually, if you don't mind, it'd be easier for Alex to watch Echo
Uh-huh.
if you wouldn't mind just going up to Murray and watching Freya. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's so backwards, but whatever.
So,
Because Echo's a very neurotic dog. She's actually a race hound.
oh, really?
So she was raised to be a competitor. She wasn't raised to be a pet.
Uh-huh.
So she's technically, Kim hates the term, but technically she's a rescue animal,
Yeah.
because she's never been raised as a pet before. She's been raised as a trainer.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, so she took her and she's been treating her like a pet, and like it totally just flips her out. And so she's super neurotic around people and stuff. Like she was telling Alex that like when she first got Echo didn't know what stairs were
Hmm.
because that wasn't part of a racing dog's life. A racing dog's life is training and running around in circles and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I guess she saw stairs and she saw people go up and down stairs, but she didn't realize that stairs was something that she had access to. So she
Hmm.
literally had to teach Echo how to go up and down stairs.
Huh.
Like that's the kind of mindset this dog is in. So
Yeah.
she's super neurotic, really high maintenance, almost kind of special needs. So
Hmm.
they're just like, actually, I think you would scare the crap out of Echo. She's a little more familiar with Alex. Let's have Alex take care of Echo, and then
Funny.
you can watch Freya. So it's a little bit roundabout, but nothing big.
That's funny.
But yeah, so this entire time I'm up here, and Wednesday's like, from what I've heard, just been like avoiding my parents. I'm like, you dumb little kitty, you used to be so social. What happened?
This is her dad.
She's a little stinker stunk. But okay, so you ready for question 14?
Ready as ever, babe.
Okay, question 14. About a fourth of the way there. Sweet, and it's almost 6 o'clock. They're gonna be here forever.
Uh-huh.
Okay, financial economist studying married couples in which both spouses. Oh, I already know the answer of this because I saw this question before. Okay, so what's the answer? I remember this question like word for word from a few weeks ago.
So it's dependent sampling. Dependent sampling, he needs to select couples for the sample.
Mm-hmm. So what makes something dependent a dependent? Let me rephrase that. What makes something two samples dependent as opposed to just two samples? What's the definition that Sister Cook used in the textbook?
If one sample determines what will be picked for the second sample.
Exactly. So, like, in this case, we know that if a husband is included, his wife is included.
Mhm.
So if you know a unique last name, Mr. Onomatopoeia, is on it, then you're like, oh, I know that couple. That means Mrs. Onomatopoeia is going to be up next, you know. So it lets you know, just by knowing who's in the first group, you know who's going to be in the second group.
Exactly.
Okay, supply and demand. And we've got a file we need to open.
Okay.
So for this one, you get to delete some cells because they're blank.
Why isn't it letting me open up that file? Come on. The world. Okay, sorry. That was weird. Didn't wanna. Okay, give me a second.
So I just got my Z-score. Let me know when you've gotten that far so we can compare.
Are you using the Excel sheet?
Um,
Or are you doing it by hand?
I just pulled up the direct flight cost Excel, and then I just did the calculations myself.
Okay. Okay, so I got point for my p value. Okay, wait. Do you want to do z-score or p value?
Let's check z-score first. That way,
Okay,
if that's not the same, then we know that.
I got 1.521.
Okay, I got 1.684. So you said that you used the Excel with
Yeah.
the two sample paired?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's see. So is it
Does it tell you like what the mean is and the standard deviation and stuff?
so my mean was 24.793. Standard deviation was 152.916 and my N was 88. Is that what you got?
Okay. So I think that's what happened. I got close but slightly different mean and standard deviations. I have an N of 87. Is there,
87, huh?
yes, is there a block that either didn't have the 14-day or the 90-day that you forgot to delete?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't have
Maybe I
it.
deleted one that had both.
Because what I did is I copied and pasted until it was um for the I didn't do it all at once and then deleted it. I would copy paste, put it over, go down below the empty space, copy and paste until the next empty cell.
Real quick. So there's 2, 3. Okay, so I had to delete 3. Let me check the count on this. Yeah, I'm still getting 87.
Okay. I'm still getting 88. It's so funny.
Okay, let me try the quantitative inference real quick. I'm using the spreadsheet like you. Okay.
One more time.
So I'm getting a mean difference 24.611, standard deviation 136.267, and an N of 87.
Huh, what the heck?
Are you positive that all your data is paired? Because there was, if I remember, there was one that had a 14-day but not a 90-day, another one that had a 90-day but not a 14-day, and then one that was blank in both of them.
So, do you leave that blank? The ones
No,
that
if
are, you delete them, right?
yes.
Okay, I'm gonna screen share
Okay.
because I'm not sure what's going on. Where is
Because
my?
yeah, if you don't have, since this is paired, if you don't have another one to compare it to, we're looking for the difference.
Yeah,
So if you
so
don't have
I did that, but maybe you can look at it and see.
88, yeah, scroll down. Looks good. Weird. Okay, let's
Yeah,
try.
I can try one more time.
Okay. Yeah, let's both
So
try with the
this is what I
clean.
do. So I do this, and then I go down until I hit that. I copy, come over here. This is actually gonna be kind of confusing if I let me do that. And then I paste it. And I come over here. I do this. Go down. Copy. Paste. Come over here. Oops. 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 Copy. Paste.
Okay.
So I don't know if that has anything to do with, the way I'm like copying and pasting.
Yeah, do you see what you're doing wrong?
No.
Okay, go back to the native file or whatever you'd call it.
This one?
Yeah. So
Okay.
you saw how you're copying down until you hit a blank.
Yeah.
Do you see how if you and then I'm assuming you just did the same thing over again with column D.
Yeah.
Then what would happen is column D, so scroll back up to the top.
Mhm.
So C, you go all the way down to 37 and then you stop.
Mhm.
And so you'd paste that. Whereas D, you would go down to 12 and then you would stop.
Uh-huh.
You can see how with that break, then everything from 14 down to 37 is going to be paired with the wrong number.
Okay.
Do you see how 303.69 shouldn't be paired with anything, but now it's paired with 156.59. And now 142.69 is now paired with 194.49. Do you see how that mix
Yeah.
and match occurred?
So,
Yeah.
but we can't have any blanks, so what do we do?
What I did is go over to the furthest left column, so past A, on the original. So go back to the original one, and then so when you got the column numbers, the easiest way I found to do it is
Mhm.
go down where there's a blank, like on 13. Click on 13,
Mhm.
and if you click on the 13 itself, not the empty
Oh,
cells.
okay.
Yeah, and then you can right click and just delete the entire row.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
oh,
So if you delete that, then that shifts everything up. And then there should be two more spots where you just need to delete the entire row.
like this?
Yeah. And then one more on 52. And then that gets rid of any data that doesn't have paired data without mixing what data is matched with what with its paired data. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So is that so for I mean I got 24.611 and standard deviation of 136.267 and an N of 87. Which
That
gave
sounds right. I opened up a brand new file just to start over from scratch, so give me a second while I double check.
okay.
So row 13 gets deleted. Row 36 gets deleted. And row 52 gets deleted. With that deleted, we simply do, we want to see the difference between the two. So C minus D, that down to the bottom. Get the average of that. Okay, what was your average?
24.611.
Perfect. Okay.
So I got a p-value of 0.096.
So we are looking for, let's see, for her study, she compared the prices. Yada. Where is it? Okay, where's the hypotheses? See if there's a difference. So she's not looking for more or less. She's just seeing if there's a difference. So we want the left and the right side, which gives us 0.0958. So 96.
Perfect.
So what you got?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, then question 16. It's pretty much a give me. What do you got?
So it is larger than the p-value. So we fail to reject the null.
Yeah. So no p-value is greater than the level of significance.
Perfect.
Real estate to evaluate two of the home appraisers for consistency and preparation. Are the requirements met? Okay, so no math for 17. Let me know when you got your answer.
Okay. Blah, blah, blah.
So what are the requirements, first off, when we're looking at a two-sample paired?
That. They have to be normal.
What has to be normal?
The distribution.
Distribution of what?
Differences.
There you go. And that can be normal either through having a high number or just being normal. So do we know if the distribution is normal?
No.
You sure?
Well, the sample size is only 10 homes, so it's not a big number, and I don't think it said that. It didn't say that.
So what does a QQ plot tell us?
Whether they're normally distributed.
Yeah, so the QQ plot can help us know if something is normally distributed. What does it say the results of the QQ plot? It says
they're roughly on a form of straight line too.
Exactly.
So yes, the distribution of mean difference is normal because the data has been determined. Yeah, okay, so it's gonna be.
And that's just asking. So that's just asking for one of the requirements. What's the other requirement? It is fulfilled, and it's pretty much the same requirement that we have for everything and anything.
Normally distributed sample size. Oh, random.
There you go.
I was like going through the list. I was like, this is.
And it specifically says the company selects a random sample of 10 homes. So that wasn't the question, but that is the second requirement.
Yes.
Okay, suppose the company from the previous questions wants a hypothesis test. What would we use for our null and alternate hypothesis? There are two that look pretty much the same and are both good answers, but one of them is the best answer.
So is it the null is mu1 equals mu2, and the alternate is they're not equal to?
Close. When we're dealing with paired samples, what are we actually measuring?
Equal to 0.
We're measuring the difference between the two.
It's D. I missed that. Dang it. The mu difference equals to 0, and the mu difference not equal to 0.
Yeah. So honestly, it's saying exactly the same thing. If mu1 is equal to mu2, then the difference is going to be equal to 0. So it's saying the same thing, but this is the more statistical way of saying it, is by saying we're measuring the difference between the two.
Yeah. And I was actually looking for the D, but I guess my eyes were not seeing it. But yeah, there it is.
Okay. Okay, so question 19, 95% confidence interval for a mean, and we get that confidence interval. You've been told to report this by saying we are 95% confident the true mean is between those two numbers. What exactly does this mean? So we're taking statistics and trying to translate it into English, which is fun.
It's 95% of all 95% confidence intervals actually contain the true mean.
Perfect. So what's wrong with the first statement?
There's 95. Well, you can't use the word chance. That automatically eliminates that one.
But why is it wrong? What is the What is the chance that the true mean is between those two numbers?
Either 1 or 0.
Exactly. Perfect. Okay, so the third answer, what's wrong with the third answer?
95% of the data is between.
So if we're saying 95% of the data is between two numbers, what is that? We talked about it earlier. That's not a confidence interval. What is it?
That's a standard deviation.
That is a modified box plot, remember?
Oh, right. Yes.
And then 95% of the sample means are between. That doesn't really mean anything. That's again kind of like saying that's a box plot of rather than data. It's a 95% box plot of sample means. So, but no, you're completely right. It says 95% of all 95% confidence intervals contain the true mean, or we are 95% confident that the true mean is within these numbers. So those are the two ways of saying it. And you totally recognize it. You totally recognize that.
Sweet.
Okay, question 20. If P, so P, we're looking at P, probability. What's the difference between P and P hat real quick, even though that's not the question here?
Man, this is like, so P hat is the point estimator for P.
Which means?
It's like the sample.
Let me drill down to the crux of it. What is the difference between X bar and mu?
One's the sample and one's the population.
Perfect. Which one's the sample? Which one's the population here?
This population is P. The P hat is the sample.
Exactly.
Okay.
Just wanted to have that quick review.
And I totally forgot how to do this.
Okay.
How you find N. How is...
So do you remember what the equation is? So requirements when we're using probability is we need simple random sample, like always. Do you remember what the other one is?
For probability,
you're going to kick yourself when I tell you because I know you know this.
I'm totally going to kick myself because I'm like,
N times P must be greater than or equal to what?
Oh, I want to say 5.
5 is a special number used in something else. You're thinking of 5 because that's what it is for when we're dealing with, is it ANOVA?
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the big Excel things, we have to have expected observations have to be 5 or greater. When we're dealing with probability, there you go.
Oh, it's one of those numbers.
Yes.
Okay.
So N times P, so the number times the probability has to be greater than 10, equal to or greater than 10. What's the corollary with that? There's a second part to it. Do you remember what that is?
Yeah, so it's N, like 1 minus P.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So basically you take the smaller probability.
Oh, right.
You take the smaller probability and divide it by 10, and that will give you the smallest number you can use.
0.4?
So...
Wait.
Okay, so let me know when you got your answer.
Is it 0.4?
0.4. Okay, here's a question. And I don't feel bad about making you feel like an idiot on this. We're solving for... we're solving for n. How the heck would you have 0.4 of a person?
You're so freaking right. So it would be yeah, so I got 12.5.
12.5.
Do I round
How'd
up?
you get 12.5?
So I did 4 divided by 5, which is 0.8, and then I did 10 divided by 0.8.
Okay, so you're halfway there.
Oh, dang it.
So what's the other corollary?
Oh, we have to minus 1.
Yes. So we have to check
11.
those and then choose the larger number.
That's right. Sweet.
Because remember, n times p and n times 1 minus p have to be greater than 10. If you were to take 12.5 times 1/5, that's not going to be greater than 10. So we have to do it for both, and then we have to see. Then we take the larger number.
Okay. I don't know why it's so hard. 0.8 divided by 10. What's that? And then do I minus or plus 1? I minus 1, right? But with order of operations, am I adding 1?
So what equation are you dealing with?
The n1 minus p. So you do 10 divided by
Do you do 10 divided by 1 minus p?
10 divided by 1. 10 divided by 1 minus p.
Yeah, so 0.8 becomes 0.2.
Okay. So I got 9.1, but that's less than 10. And then 12.5.
So 12.5 you did correctly. The other one, I don't know if it was order of operations, probably order of operations.
Probably.
But what is 1 minus 0.8?
1 minus, 0.2. I don't need a calculator for that.
So divide 10 by 0.2. And what do you get?
50.
There you
That
go.
makes way more sense. Okay, 1 minus p, and then divided. Okay. Okay, so it's 50.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, 21.
Okay. This one is pretty much the last one, just in more words. Your little brother has a career batting average of .233, and that is the batting average up to now, so that would be P. You want to check the probability that this sampling over the next season, so .25 would then be P hat. Are the conditions met so we can do an experiment for P hat?
Yes.
Why? So it's the requirements.
That N times P is greater than 10, which is true because we have a large enough sample. So we don't really need to do the math, right?
Okay. So what is N in this instance and what is P?
So N is 40.
And what's P?
P is 0.233.
Okay. And if you times 40 by .233, what do you get?
9.32.
Yes.
Okay.
So not quite 10.
Okay, so it would be no. 40 times 0.223 is less than 10. So the conditions are not satisfied. Well, dang. Okay. 22. Is
And remember that when we're dealing probability, it's both N times P and N times 1 minus P.
yes.
So I just double checked just for whatever. 1 minus 0.233 times 40 is equal to 30. So that one looks good, but because the other one is below 10, we can't use it. Both of them need to be above 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you on question 22 now?
Yeah.
Did question 21 make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So how would we interpret her findings?
51.2% of all the gametes in the dog's testes have a male chromosome.
Let's see. So think about this in a null and an alternate hypothesis method. What would be our null hypothesis?
So our null is that they're equal. They're equal, so they're the same chance, I guess. And the alternative would be that they're not, or I guess they're not equal to.
So the null hypothesis. So when do we do differences?
When do we do differences?
Mm-hmm.
When there's two samples?
Mm-hmm. Do we have two samples here?
No.
Yes. So yeah, we don't have two samples.
Mm-hmm.
So the null hypothesis would be that the proportion of dog gametes that contain male chromosomes is 46%. And then your alternate hypothesis would either be not equal to, greater than, or less than 46%, depending on how you wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So she comes up with the findings of p hat is equal to 0.512, which, as you've put it, what is p hat?
Is the point estimator or the sample.
Mm-hmm. So it's the mean proportion for the sample, which we use as a point estimator.
Yeah.
So point estimator means that we need to do something to get the full answer. What do we do with our point estimator in order to get a full answer?
Do we do like the z-score? Something or other?
Eventually get there, yeah. Another way of doing it, and in this case, they're not asking for a z-score or anything. So they're not asking for a z-score or anything like that. So probably the best way that we would do to represent this is with a confidence interval.
Okay.
And we would say that we are 95, and let's say, I'm just throwing this off the top of my head. Let's say that with this point estimator and our confidence interval, let's just say that we are 95% confident that P is between 0.5 and 0.524. So that's our confidence interval.
Mm.
Would we then reject our null hypothesis?
I don't know.
Does our confidence interval contain our null hypothesis?
I think you said it did, yes.
What's our null hypothesis?
Okay. Assume image. Okay, so it's that they're equal to 46%.
Yes. Did our confidence interval contain 46? Our confidence interval of 0.5 to 0.524?
No. Wait.
So that means, yeah. So we are 95% confident that the true proportion is greater than 46, right? So then we would reject the null hypothesis.
Yes.
So point estimator tells us nothing. So the first one, there's a 51.2% chance that randomly selected gamete cells will have the male chromosome. No, that's not true, because the point estimator is just that. It's an estimator. We need more information to go off of it.
Yeah.
51.2% of eggs fertilized by these gametes will produce female puppies. That just said the inverse of the first one, which again isn't conclusive.
Yeah.
51.2% of all gametes in the dog's testes have male chromosomes, which is exactly what the first one is saying, just with different words. And again,
so
it's not being conclusive.
Keyword there is sample.
Yes. So the sample, the sample, we only have 140. So the fact is we can know the exact number, the exact proportion, or the exact mean for our sample because our sample is what we are having hands-on experience with.
Well,
so we can use p-hat, we can use x-bar, we can use the other things to talk about our sample, but we can't use those things to talk about the population as a whole unless we have a confidence interval or we're using our p-value to reject a null hypothesis. But yeah, if we have that stuff, we can talk about our sample all day long.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Point estimator, sample. Got it.
Yeah, and that goes true for any sample. So if instead of dealing with proportions, we were dealing with x-bar, which is sample, and we're looking at like the heights of rose bushes, then we'd be like, our x-bar for our rose bushes is, I don't know how tall rose bushes get, let's say 5.5 feet. That doesn't tell you about the population until you start throwing in a confidence interval, or you want to reject the null hypothesis, so you calculate a z-score and a p-value. But it does a great job of telling you that of the 56 rose bushes that I measured, the mean height of them is 5.5 feet, and that's indisputable. You can be like, no, here are the ones that I measured, and here's the math that I did. You can't prove me wrong on this. I'm only talking about my sample.
Yeah.
But when you try and extrapolate that to the population, you got to do some extra things like confidence interval and stuff.
Makes sense. Okay.
So researchers published a study in which they considered the incidence among elderly. Oh, this is a fun one. Okay, so we're dealing with probabilities here, so it's going to be p's. What is our p-value? Well, not our p-value. What is p?
Okay. Calculate the power of that fewer than. Okay, is p.
The p is population.
So it's 0.45.
Yes. So what would our p-hat be?
Our p-hat is. Probably 320? Wait. Blah, 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 there's so many numbers. Okay. P-hat would be of adults over 65 suffer from one or more conditions considered. Okay, because it's probably that fewer than. P-hat is 320.
So p-hat is what type of data?
The sample.
It is sample, but what type of data is it? Is it an integer? Is it a mixed number? Is it a fraction? What type of data is it?
Oh, it's x over n?
Yes, so in this case, what would our x and our n be?
X is 320. So we would divide that. So 320 divided by 750.
There you go.
Gotcha. And so that's 0.426.
That's what I got.
And so, what is it even asking for? Calculate the probability. So, um, that's our p hat. Ugh. What do we do now?
So it is asking for the probability. So, okay. So it is asking for, where's the exact words? Calculate the probability that fewer than 320 out of 750 adults over 65 are in. So basically what it's saying is that p hat, p is equal to 0.45, right?
Yes.
So it's asking, what is the probability of taking a sample of 750 people and getting a p hat of 0.4266? Does that clarify it a little bit?
Yes.
So what's the next step to do?
Probability applet?
Not yet. We'd have to get our z-score.
Right.
So what are we missing in order to calculate our z-score?
Oh, so we have n. Oh. Um, so z-score is just value p hat minus p over standard deviation.
Yes.
So we're missing the standard deviation.
Yes. And if you remember, once we start getting into proportions, standard deviation starts getting really ugly.
Yes, I do remember that because I can never get the formula right.
Yeah.
But we can use the Excel, right?
I just solved it with Excel, but not the specific Excel sheet, but I've got it. So if you remember, I had to look it up in the book, so this means I'm going to definitely want to write it down in my notes for the test. But standard deviation is equal to p times 1 minus p divided by n, all of that to the square root.
Yes.
So if you remember that equation. Or, yeah, you can pull it up and do it in whichever Excel sheet has the equations already done for you.
Okay. X is okay. So for okay. Let's see. So my z-score, I got negative 16.335.
Very different from what I got.
Gotcha. Okay.
What'd you get for your standard deviation?
.0181.
That's interesting.
Or did you get, .0167?
I got 0.0018166. So it's close to your original, but off by a factor of 10.
Oh,
That
wait,
one
let's
I've
see.
got 0.45 times 0.55 divided by 750, and then all of that to the 0.5 or square root of that.
Okay, so
Did you times p times 1 minus p, or did you times
I
p hat
totally just put it
minus?
in the Excel sheet. But what I think I didn't do the null hypothesis. And so null hypothesis is it 45? What did you get for your standard deviation?
Standard deviation, I got 0.018166.
Oh, yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, perfect. And then you can get your z-score off of that.
Negative 1.284.
Perfect, that's what I got.
Okay. Okay, 24.
So what'd you get for the p-score?
I got .901,
1.
which is not any of these.
Oh, I think I know what you did.
Oh, wait. Blah, blah, blah.
So what was your z-score again?
It's gonna be .091. Wait, am I?
I got something a little bit different, but it might just... Actually, no, that's kind of... Oh, 0 point... Let's see. You said 0.91?
Wait, are we on 23?
Yes.
So for my P value, I got .901.
0.901.
Yes. Is that what you got?
Okay, what was your z-score?
The score is negative 1.284.
Okay, that's what I got. What area of the curve are you highlighting?
Oh, I didn't put it in the applet. Oh, it is asking for student probability. Okay. Okay, so is it .0996?
That's what I got. Yeah.
Okay.
Question 24. Suppose you're testing null hypothesis p is equal to 0.62. Alternate hypothesis is 0, p is not equal to 0.62. You get a z-score, and the z-score gives you a p-value of 0.091. What is the following p-value for your hypothesis test? So actually, I should read the whole thing. The area to the right of the z-score is 1.334. So looking at this, our alternate hypothesis, is our alternate hypothesis one-tailed or two-tailed?
Two-tailed.
Okay. The area to the right of z equals 1.334. Does that give us information on one-tailed or two-tailed?
One-tailed, so you can just double it.
Perfect.
Which is 2.668. Which of the following is a p-value?
You're so close.
Under the...
So what would you double?
Oh, so it's actually 0.182.
There you go.
Dang it.
Yeah, you doubled the z-score when you should have doubled the p-value.
Making all sorts of mistakes. So a quick question on 23. You rounded up to 0.1, right?
I'm debating on that. I had that, and then I changed it back to 0.996, but I think I'm going to change it back to 0.100.
Yeah.
Question 25. Suppose you are a dog breeder. You want to use a confidence interval to estimate the true mean fertility levels for purebred Cocker Spaniels. It is known that the distribution of fertility levels is normal. How many measurements must you have in order to make sure the sampling of the distribution of X bar is normal?
10.
Why 10?
Let's see. X bar is normal. Oh, well, it should be 30. Wait, okay, let's see. Any N will do.
And why?
Because it says that the known distribution is normal.
Perfect. Okay. That one, any N will do. 26. A study is planned to compare the proportion of men who dislike anchovies to the proportion of women who dislike anchovies. So we got two samples. We'll see if this is paired or not. Study seeks to determine if the proportions of men and women who dislike anchovies are different. Sample of 41 men. And the p-hat estimate for the true proportion of men who like anchovies was determined to be 0.67. P-hat for women was 0.8 with a sample size of 56. Are the requirements satisfied to perform this hypothesis? Good question. So, what is the requirements?
It's it has to be greater than 10.
What has to be greater than 10?
N and N times P.
And
N1 minus P.
okay, perfect. So then now it's just double checking. Okay, let me know when you have your answer.
Ugh, I think my brain stopped working. So I'm doing n, which is 41 times p, but it doesn't really give, oh, I guess it does. 0.84. Never mind. I just answered my own question.
So just keep in mind that we actually have two different samples here. So we have a sample of 41 men with a p-hat of 0.67 and a sample of 56 women with a p-hat of 0.84.
So I have to
So
do it
there's,
like 4 different times.
yeah, so it'd be 4 different calculations.
Oh, it's so fun. So what is, okay, never mind. Never mind. Go crazy. Okay. So far they're all above 10, which is great. Except for one. Wait. Yeah, there's one that wasn't above 8.
So does that mean we can continue with the experiment?
Nope.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, 27. Um, so is it U1 not equal to U2? Sorry, U. Why am I doing U? Mu.
So we're looking at the effectiveness of a diet program.
Oh, alternate hypothesis. So it would be U, oh my gosh, mu D not equal to 0.
There you go. Yeah, we're doing a diet, so we're checking people before and after, which means that this is paired. And with paired, we always check the difference.
Cool. And then
Okay, so what are you thinking on question 28?
um So his predicted weight loss. His actual weight loss was 5 point. Okay, his actual weight loss was 5.5 pounds higher than his predicted weight loss. Or is it the other way around?
Tricky. No, I just had to pull up the book because I couldn't remember the definition. Residuals. The residual for an observation is defined as the difference between the observed value and the value that would have been predicted by the regression line.
So the
So his
actual.
actual weight loss was 5.5 pounds higher than his predicted. So the observed was higher than the predicted.
Okay.
For the study in the previous question, B1 of the regression line was 5 pounds.
So the slope. The regression line was 5 pounds. Average weight loss. I have no idea. I want to say as percent compliance goes up by 1%, on average 5 pounds are lost in 3 months.
So let's look at these. Let's go process of elimination because there's not enough information, which is a catch-all. So let's start out with the ones that we know. So the average weight loss of all participants was 5 pounds. Is that one true?
Well, we don't know that.
Yeah, because we're talking about slope, and slope
is the angle of your line.
Yeah, the average weight loss of all participants, that would be if the y-intercept, b naught, was equal to 5 and there was no slope.
Yes.
So that one's wrong. On average, the exercise patients lost 5 pounds more than non-exercisers. Well, that's again giving us an intercept, 5. There's no slope there. So we know that one's not the case. So that means either not enough information or what you're saying. So we go back up to question 28. Question 28 says, for the exercise group, they used linear regression with percent compliance with the exercise program as the explanatory variable. So as weird as it may sound, as percent compliance goes up by 1%, on average, 5 pounds are lost in 3 months. So you're totally right.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of, in my head, it was like describing slope.
Yeah, it is totally describing slope, but the thing is, you would never think of slope being percent compliance to a program, you know? You think of slope as minutes exercised per week or calories cut per meal, you know, something like that. Like percent compliance is just a really weird thing to measure because that's a really hard thing. That's a really hard thing to measure. How do you measure 5% compliance to the program versus 6% compliance to the program? You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're totally right on that. Okay. Question 30, scatter plot, residual plot, QQ. Which of the 5 assumptions about linear regression are being checked? Oh, we had this one. I've already forgotten it. Okay, QQ. I remember checks to see if the residuals are normally distributed.
Okay.
When creating a scatter plot, we're checking to see if there is a linear relationship between x and y. And a residuals plot. So the residuals show whether it's normally distributed. A QQ plot would... Ah, dang it. What would the QQ plot tell us?
The QQ, if it's a normal error, what does that even mean? Okay.
Because observation are independent, that would be a completely different study. I want to say it's the variance of the error term is constant,
Full
but
value.
I'd have to look up the book. I know that.
That would be
I,
the residual plot.
well, doesn't the residual plot tell us the residuals are normally distributed?
I have the thing right here. Do you want to look at it?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up too. So, okay, residual plot calculates each data point.
Do you have it? Oh, okay.
Okay, so here's the actual table. The scatter plot tells us if something is a linear relationship. Where did that go? Okay, so both the residual plot and the scatter plot tell us if there's a linear relationship.
Okay.
So that would mean, so a scatter plot will tell us that there's a linear relationship. Residuals plot does the same thing. And then the last thing we have is a QQ plot of the residuals, which tells us the normal error term.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so X's are known constants, cannot be checked directly. Observations are independent, cannot be checked directly. The residual plot, constants, variance.
Okay.
How's that phrased? Residual plot, residual plot. Okay, so the variance of the error term is so the variance is constant. There is a linear relationship between x and y due to the scatter plot.
The residuals are normally distributed by the QQ plot.
So if the points in the QQ plot are close to the line, that tells us the normal error term. What is the normal error term? It's a weird phrase. I want to say the top one. The x values are measured without error. I think that's what the normal error term talks about, but I'm not positive. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, I wish his graphs were a little bit more clear. Um,
The scatter is a linear residuals plot tell us. So the residual plot will tell us that there's a constant variance, which is the bottom one. The variance for the error term is constant. I'm not sure.
so I think it's ones we have checked. So there is a linear relationship between x and y.
Mhm.
The variance of the error term is constant for all values. And then the residuals are normally distributed.
Okay. You want to go with those three?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, use the following information for the next 12 questions.
That's awesome.
That's hideous.
It's horrible. I want to cry. Ah, okay, we can do this.
Okay, we're getting there. Let's play.
Ugh, mine is just not working. Okay.
Okay, so we're back to direct flight costs,
Okay. It is.
which means that we will have some rows that we need to delete. But first things first, let's open it and let's see what the questions are. Sample correlation coefficient. Ugh, that's not even something we can do. Okay. Let's pull up quantitative inference, I think it is.
Yes, it is. I actually still have my things in here, so that's good.
I had to recently purge my computer because I had way too many files open.
Yeah, I cleaned mine. I was like, I don't need this, I don't need this. Too many tabs up and stuff. Okay, compute the sample. Out the tickets. Okay.
Which one are we looking at for response and which one is the explanatory?
Okay, so response. Uh, well, I mean, neither.
Well, the thing is
uh,
that we've gotten it wrong before because of that. So
I know. I
I'm
mean, I just assume the 90 days is the response. But like technically, I feel like both of them are not responses.
yeah.
You know what I
Okay,
mean?
well I will put how about this? Um I'll put 90 days explanatory, you put 90 days response. Let's see if we get something different.
Okay.
And if we get something different, then we'll tackle it then.
Okay.
I think actually if I remember, I think the coefficient, whatever correlation coefficient is the same. So R is the same. I think
Uh-huh.
it's the slope and the intercept that changes. So this first one we should be able to get, we should get the same answer.
Okay. So just to clarify, my response is the 90 day, correct? And you're doing it the other way?
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty, so um alrighty, well I have it.
Sorry, what'd you get for the correlation coefficient?
I got I'm doing for slope, right? So 0.084.
I'm not doing the slope yet. This one is asking for the correlation coefficient. Correlation coefficient, which if you remember is R. So it would be found in cell H8.
H. Okay. 0.780.
Okay, that's what I got.
Okay. Okay. In the scatter plot using these two variables.
We got looking at it linear with fairly strong positive association.
Yeah.
Okay, for the next two questions, compute the y-intercept of the slope 14 days before the flight. Okay, so this one.
X to 14, right?
No, I think what this one is saying is that 14 goes in explanatory, 90 goes in response.
Okay, so what I have.
Yeah. So what you get for the y-intercept?
See, I got negative 17.087.
Okay. Not that I don't trust you, but I opened up another window.
No, I was actually it's
other
nice
ones.
to have someone check you, you know?
Okay, and the slope, what'd you get?
Point
Yeah, if I check, I opened up the old window, and the y-intercept was 115. So order definitely matters.
Okay. Yeah, and then for my slope I got 0.972.
Perfect. Okay. Now this is where we put a number in beneath the x. So predict the price of tickets listed 14 days before the flight based on your same flight costing 200. Okay, so below x, we would want to put 200.
Okay. And then so would we predict the price. So it'd be 177.307.
0.3, just one decimal point, but that's what I got.
How'd you got that? What is the
construct a 95% confidence interval?
So it's gonna be okay, so I actually have a question for you. You see how there's two, I mean, I'm pretty sure we use the confidence interval in L14. But when would we ever use it when it's in K18, like that confidence interval? Or do we just not really have to worry about that? Because I feel like we've never used it. Like it's never asked for that.
We have 3 separate confidence intervals on this sheet.
Yes. And
What is the confidence interval on row 14? What's that the confidence interval of?
The slope.
Yes. What is the confidence interval on row 12 or 13?
The y-intercept.
Okay. So what is the confidence interval on row 18?
That's for the predicted, I guess, well, it says
Just
the
the predicted value.
Yeah,
So it differed depending on the question. In this case, it's the confidence interval for a flight that costs $200 14 days before the flight. So we're saying our predicted, if we were to get it 90 days before the flight, our predicted is $177. But that's just our point estimate. Our confidence interval is that it would fall between $145 and $208.
Okay.
That confidence interval is the confidence interval for the predicted, whatever we're predicting.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just confusing that they have all those.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of thing on these Excel sheets.
Yeah. Okay, so the lower bound would be 0.804, and the
What I
upper
got?
bound would be 1.140.
What I got?
And then the margin of error would be 1.140 minus 0.804 divided by 2, which is 0.168.
Perfect. That's what I got. Okay, choose the correct null and alternate hypothesis for this analysis. So, whenever we're making hypothesis, are we making hypotheses? I hate that. Hypotheses. What is it? It was, I had a teacher, chemistry teacher in high school. He was insistent that it wasn't processes, it was processes.
Oh gosh, it's one of those.
It's processes. We're like, shut up. We're in high school. No one uses the word process in the plural. Come on.
That's hilarious.
Okay. So the null and alternative hypothesis for this analysis. When we're dealing with null and alternative hypothesis, what are we testing? Well, I should say, let me rephrase that. Are our hypotheses regarding our sample or the population we're studying?
Say that again?
So when we make hypotheses,
yeah,
is the hypothesis about the sample we're taking or the population we're studying?
Population we're studying.
So population, and we're dealing with different symbols based on population and sample. So which two answers are immediately removed since we're dealing with hypotheses, and all hypotheses are based off of populations?
The lowercase b's?
Because beta is population because it's a Greek letter. Yes. B is in regards to our samples. So the first two are immediately wrong before we even look at the question.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, so it would be B1 equals 0, B1 or not equals 2, 0.
So it's asking about the slope. I double check to see if it's slope or the y-intercept. So slope, so yeah, it would be beta 1.
Yes, okay. What is the
question 47 left.
What is the value of the test statistic? So that would be 11.509.
Double check. So our test statistic here is...
Oh, wait. Yeah.
Our t-score for the slope, 11.509. Yeah.
Okay. And then the p-value would be
Zero.
0.
Unless you want to write out, I guess, what would that be? 18 zeros and then a 5?
I'll pass. So what decision do we make? The P is low, so we reject the null.
So we have to give a reasoning because there's 2 reject the nulls.
And so it would be there is sufficient evidence to suggest that the slope of the that one.
Yes. Reject the null, there's sufficient. Because the other one is reject the null, there's insufficient.
Insufficient.
You would never reject the null if there's insufficient. That's just dumb.
Yes.
Okay, home stretch.
The United States.
Okay, so we are looking at...
Okay, this would be... Oh, okay. Okay, I'm going with my gut. Paired sample t-test.
Why are you thinking paired?
For some reason, gosh dang, I don't know why, but because it's one sample, but they're testing it twice.
Are they testing it twice? That's what I'm trying to figure out. This is a hard read. I think my brain's fried.
I mean, they wanted to test whether this program, right, the prenatal care program, is reducing the number of low. So they want to see if this prenatal care program is increasing the baby's health.
Yes.
Let's say 30 mothers only live in the park.
Are they doing the prenatal care program once or twice per mother?
Once.
Okay. Are there 2 samples of mothers? So there's 30 mothers. Is there 1 sample of 30 mothers or 2 samples of 30 mothers?
1 sample of 30 mothers.
Okay, so that takes out paired sample t-test and independent sample t-test.
So it'd be.
It also takes out
1 proportion.
Also takes out ANOVA, test of proportions, test of 2 proportions. So that leaves us with either z-test or t-test.
Ugh.
I am not seeing anything.
Standard deviation.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it's going to be t-test.
Okay.
So that's my gut feeling. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Oh, goody, there's another one.
I think that's what the rest of them are. Yeah, that's what the rest of them are.
Oh, I hate these ones. Okay. Engineers at an oil refinery find out.
Standard deviation. So we are given the standard deviation this time.
Okay. One sample z-test?
That's what I'm getting, just because there's like no data here, and then they gave us a sigma.
Yeah, that's what I assume too.
I'm like, engineering at an oil refinery, find out how easily gas evaporates. But they don't talk about any samples or anything like that. They're just saying that they're doing an experiment on gasoline, and then they throw out a sigma. So I'm fine with 1 sample z-test.
Okay.
Okay, attorney wants to know what is the percentage. Okay, so percentage, we know we're dealing with proportions here. So that knocks out all but 2 answers. What are the percentage of Walmart employees in Nevada who are over 45 years old is more than 30%. So we have got percentage of Walmart employees in Nevada who are over 45.
So it's gonna be one test of one.
Yeah,
Portion.
I don't see another sample in there.
Yeah, okay. Marriage counselor could exist every couple's guided each of the couples married.
A marriage counselor conducted the study of couples, categorizing each of the couples as communicative or non-communicative, among other things. Counselor wants to see the percentage of communicative couples whose marriages ended in separation or divorce was the same as the percentage of the non-communicative. So I see percentage, which means proportion, and I see two different groups, the communicative group and the non-communicative group.
Yes.
I am saying test of two proportions. Any argument?
Nope.
Okay. Final question. Business marketing firm specializes in radio advertising. They hope to show linear relationship. This is linear regression.
Cool. Easy peasy.
If it asked for if there was dependent, then we would go chi-square. But linear relation, we're looking for linear regression. Okay, save all responses. Go to submit quiz. Okay, you missed a lot, but I'm going to go through this later. Unless we can go through it, and you can check yours real quick and see it, because it looks like they're all in a row. So it looks like we just started wrong on one, and then that just carried us through.
Which ones did we miss? Starting at one?
No, there's a few that we missed. So, okay. So we did miss question number 4, which was asking about the median.
Oh man, what?
Which I thought was confusing. I'm going to look at that one later. But the number
You put
9.
the median will stay the same?
Is that what I put? Yeah, I got median will stay the same.
What? How is that wrong?
And then there was, what is the probability of a sample mean can pass 50 randomly selected trucks will be greater than 8,540 gallons. So question 9, go up to question 9 real quick. Make sure that I just didn't put in the wrong number.
0.011.
Okay. Yeah, let's see what we did wrong there.
Oh, we just had to change the thing, did we?
Okay, so you go to what? 800, 8,550. X is 8,540. Standard deviation. Sigma.
Oh, I think I know what we did.
Well, what are you thinking?
Since it's a negative z-score, but it's asking for greater than, don't we do the middle section and the right-hand section?
Is it asking for greater?
Yeah.
Oh, that is. I just assumed. Okay.
I know, same. I Ugh.
Okay, so then I guess it's just 1 minus 0, 1, 1, 2, so you can change your answer to that. And then let's
Wait, what?
check the other ones, because there's a slew that we got wrong in a row, and that's most of them.
Wait, so what was 9?
9, if we did check just less than, and it needed to be the middle and the right side, it would just be
Oh
1
no.
minus.
Oh, wouldn't it be the middle section and the right-hand section? Because the z-score is negative.
Yeah, so that should be 0.9888.
Do you round that?
Let's see, 0.989. Yeah. Check something. Now, though, I'm kind of curious before you submit that one or save it or whatever.
Which other ones did we get wrong?
I'm just thinking, because they gave us a sigma, and with a sigma, that means we use the normal probability applet and a z-score, which means that we don't need to take the sample size into account. So I think did we take the sample size 50 into account for question 9? And if that's the case,
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, but did we take the sample size into account for question 8? Because we got 8 right. I want
Yeah.
to double check that.
So
Did we take
I switched out in the formula 20 for 50. Because I have the formula. Yeah, so I did 8,540 minus 8,544 divided by 12 divided by the square root of 50. And that's how we got our last answer. Or sorry, that was our z-score. So is it 0.991?
doing here? Okay, so question 8, not 9, because question 8 we got right. Did we?
Question 8 we got right?
Yes, question 8 we got right. Did we include n equals 20? Or
In the
like the square root
formula?
of 20?
Yes, we did.
Okay, then we would need to include the 50, which means that we did everything right except for we checked the wrong side, which means the correct answer should be 0.989.
989.
So you got that updated?
Yeah.
Okay, let me check out next one that we got wrong. And I think the rest of them are just in a row. because we got 39 out of 47, so 8 wrong. So
39. Oh my gosh.
yeah, so question 4, which we can look at later maybe. Question 9, so that leaves 6 questions, and I think the 6 really are just all in a row.
Okay, so 39.
So okay, so starting at question 33. So yes, it was that annoying flight thing.
Yeah.
It looks like we probably got, so it looks like we just got the columns wrong.
Yeah.
Because we got 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. So we missed all of those, which makes me think that, yeah, we just had the columns wrong.
Okay.
But those were the only other ones that we missed.
Okay, sorry. Can you repeat the ones we got wrong? 33
Through 38.
through 38.
Yeah. So do you have that file still up?
Yeah.
Actually, I've got it here. Okay. So let's try this. 33. Change the y-intercept to 115.640.
115. Not negative.
Not negative.
115.680.
640.
Sorry. 0. Okay, and then
The slope becomes 0.627.
0.627.
Okay. Predict the price ticket, 14 days. So we go here, 200. Okay, so predicted is 240. Rounding's a pain. Do 241.0.
240 point. Wait, sorry. 240.140.
241.0.
240.140.
No, 241.0. Because it's just asking for 1 decimal point.
Okay, and then 36.
36 is, let's see, the lower bound. So we're looking at the confidence interval. Lower bound would be 0.518.
Okay.
Upper bound is 0.735.
0.735.
Margin of error is 0.108.
Okay.
Okay, and that's the last of them. So let's scroll back up to whichever one it was.
It was 4.
Do you want to look this up in the book, or do you just want to take a shot? I'm thinking if
It's not possible to determine without the full data set.
let's see. I'm just trying to think if
I know you were hesitant about this one.
yeah.
So what was going through your head? What were you thinking before?
So I was thinking medians change, but they don't change as much as means. Means
Yeah.
get tossed all over the place from outliers.
Yes.
Medians still do, but just not as much.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that when you raise an outlier from 12 to 21, then that would also raise the median, just not nearly as much as it would increase the mean.
Yeah.
So which one do you want to put in there?
We can do increase, and if it's not increase, then we know it is not possible to determine. You know?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so try that one.
Submit this sucker. Okay. Okay, so 4 is wrong,
Okay.
but that's the only one we got wrong.
Okay, so that one is we can't tell. But you
Yes.
got everything else right?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'm going to take a breather, watch something on YouTube,
I
and
know.
we'll get back to this.
Oh,
But it
gosh.
sounds like you just have one that you need to update.
Yep.
But I'm not sure if we have a meeting next week, but let's just plan on meeting
Let's
next
plan
week
on
just
it.
for the final project.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, I'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.